A number of years ago, I met this amazing guy called Klaas van Oosterhout, and I've been following his journey since then. But it's not just about his journey and the amazing things that he's achieved in his business, but it's also what he helped other entrepreneurial parents to achieve. So he helps entrepreneurial parents discover their ideal life and what their business should look like. And he helps them to control all of this with his signature program called The Me I Want to Be. Now, this is so much fun talking with Klaas in this interview. He shares so many amazing golden nuggets, and it is just amazing what you can achieve in your life if you basically just be productive in the right way every single day. And we're going to dive into that. So please do me a favor as well, hit the subscribe button and a bell notification for more videos like this in future, because then you know what, YouTube favors me and I can get some eyeballs on my channel. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the inside of this interview. Hi Klaas, how are you doing?
Hi Joy, I'm doing fantastic, and thank you very much for having me on. Looking forward to spending however long we're going to be spending on this episode. Yeah. I don't even know what we're going to talk about.
Okay, so let me give you a quick breakdown. So the listeners on this show is people that either have a business and they're stuck, or they wanting to start a business but are not exactly sure what it is, or sometimes in general some other people just listen to it because they get inspired by the successful entrepreneurs and people that I interview on the show. So so it's just all, it's a mixed bunch of people, but overall people just enjoy listening to other people's success stories and just the struggles, because it's real. So can you tell people a little bit about you? Where did you grow up and who is Klaas?
Sure. Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, I was also referring to, you never know, because you've been doing a lot of interviews, as you know, I have done it as well. Yes. You just never know where an interview is going to go. Like, you prepare yourself, you got all these questions ready, you ask the first question and the whole thing just goes exactly, 180 degrees the other way, which I love. So that's why I'm really interested to see, where are we going to end up in this conversation. So who's Klaas? I was born in Breda, which is a medium-sized city in the Netherlands, in the south, close to the Belgian border. My parents are both entrepreneurs, so entrepreneurial parents. Nice. So I guess I got the bug real fast from them and started, as soon as I started working, it was all kind of entrepreneur-based. I did do some 9-to-5s, but mostly it was all around being an entrepreneur, which was a lot of fun. Yeah. What else? I moved to Spain 10 plus years ago, because of love. And then after that, I found my wife, who I found through Facebook, which is pretty cool. And we've been married now for 10 years. So it's definitely been longer than 10 years that I've been living here. Nice. We got 2 boys, Diego and Alex. Diego's 8, Alex is 5 still. And they have their own YouTube channel, so they're getting, doing their little bit entrepreneurial journey as well, which is pretty cool to see. And I'm the founder of Become the Me I Want to Be, which transitioned from Become a Fearless Father and moved into that because I like working with both parents, not just with dads, also with moms who are focused on making a positive impact in the world as well as in the lives of their families. And I helped them to gain clarity on what does that mean? How does that look like for you? Not just what does your environment tell you what it should look like, the government, your what you've been studying, your parents, etc. No, we really want to dive deep in what does that mean for you? And that's what I work on. And I found out that from that clarity, now you got to take action. And it's that action, that productivity that most of them struggle with. Yeah. Then with that as well comes emotions, your emotional state to hey, there's different states, different hats, as I call it, that you have to wear. And it's not easy, right? You're having an interview or you're having a call, whatever it is, you're coaching somebody, and then all of a sudden it's like, your kid comes in or they don't. But then after that, you come in your living room and everything is turned upside down. And now you got to switch and have, make sure that you stay emotional great. Plus then, of course, maybe you got to come back and record something, and now you're upset because that didn't go well. It comes with a lot of challenges and a lot of fun. So I've been working with that for a couple of years now and enjoying it a lot.
How did your transition between your podcasts come about? Because I remember when me and you first met, which is probably, I want to say 2 years ago now, easily, right? It's a good couple of years. I remember your podcast because I even recommended it to my husband. We were talking, to fathers on your podcast, and I listened to a few episodes. And even being a mother, I thought it was quite inspiring to listen to. So how did that transition come about? How did you actually decide that you're going to serve both parents and not just one?
Yeah, great question. So one of the things that's very important is take action.
Yes.
Right. So I'm very good at just taking action and just go. And along the way, a lot of people they really want to know is like, what am I going to do and who am I going to serve and etc. And I knew that to a certain extent. However, then it's just doing. I'm not the person that worries too much about all the details and is it going to work? And no, just go and then find out it works. I felt like I was missing something. And then I go within myself to look as like, okay, what am I missing? And as you mentioned, like, you were listening, even though it was called Become a Fearless Father, you were listening to it. And there was more mothers that were listening to it. And they were telling me like, I really enjoy this. And I limited myself with Become a Fearless Father because I was always saying, I interviewed at that time, I think I did like 100 interviews and I interviewed 2 women. That was it. Because I kept limiting myself by saying, no, it's Become a Fearless Father. So I must interview dads that are entrepreneurs, or at least men, but mostly just dads. And I was limiting myself. And I wanted to step away from that. And that's why I turned it into, okay, become the me I want to be. It's still like the biggest group of my clients, they're still dads.
Yeah.
However, now I open it up a little bit where at least the conversations that I'm having and the interviews that I'm having, they're more open. And that was for me good because I wanted, for example, like John Lee Dumas, I wanted to interview him. He's not a dad. So it's like, I was struggling with myself, which is ridiculous, but still when I made that change, it's like, okay, now I'm just free and I can interview whoever I want, which for me was very important. But also I can just have conversation with whomever I want, although I'm still very specific in my messaging towards entrepreneurial parents.
Yes. And I like that concept. I actually did a season. This is now season 9, and I did a season 7 that was about controlling the chaos and as an entrepreneurial parent. And it was just like the basic productivity hacks that I would do on a daily basis that I shared with people. And it's quite amazing as an entrepreneurial parent when you're just used to doing, because I've always been very organized. It's just always the way I've been. And you just kind of take it for granted. You don't realize that other people struggle with it. Because I had people that reached out to me and say to me that, listen, how do you do this? How do you have lockdown and COVID and homeschool and run a business? I was like, oh, I just do it, So how did you find, like, have you always been like a very organized person that you could, get into this thing with people, or did you have to learn to be organized? How did that come about?
I learned that from my very first coach. That was right before I started become a Fearless Father.
Yes.
I'm in all honesty, I'm still not that organized. Like, I don't want anybody to see my desk because it's ridiculous. However, the most important thing is that you got to have that clarity. Like, you can be organized. If you don't have that clarity on what that being organized leads to, then there's not that much of a point besides the fact that you can say like, I'm organized, right? Yes. It's the same with productivity. A lot of people, they will mention like, I'm busy, like I'm productive. Are you really being productive? And if you don't have that clarity, if you don't know where you want everything to go, then you can do as much as you want. It just doesn't make much sense. It's like a I don't know, a hamster, right? Running in a wheel. Yes, he's very productive. Great. Yes. He's not getting anywhere. After he's tired, he steps out. He's still in the same spot. And that's why I see with a lot of people. So the first thing that was for me very, very important was like, okay, what is it that I truly want? Where do I want to go? Where do I want to end up? And there again, like what I've written out 3 years ago is like, I'm not there at all because I've changed direction. Like I by then again taking action, you start to notice like, do I really want that? like for me, it was like, okay, I want that, 7-figure business. That's what I thought at first. Like, I want that 7-figure business, and I want to reach as many people as I can. And I still do want to reach as many people as I can. I'm just not that into the whole 7-figure business. I don't really care. What I really want is to have time freedom right now, because our kids are only 8 and 5. And I actually noticed that for me right now, it's really important to spend as much time as I can with them. And during the summer, for example, I spent more time working on their YouTube channel with them or without them than I did on my own business. And I loved it. And I had no problem with that, because that's how I set everything up. Yeah. And that's clarity. That's knowing like, okay, this is what I want. And this is what I want for the next 5 years, until they go a little older. Once they're like, around 12 and stuff, they probably don't want to hang out with daddy as much anyway. Cool. Now I can look at, okay, so what am I going to do the next 5 years? Like, am I going to work more, or am I not going to work more, but I'm going to do something else? But again, it all becomes, just think of like, okay, what is it that I truly, where would I like to be in 5 years? What's that clarity for me? What does that mean? How does that look like for life, business, together, integrated or not? And then take the steps. Look at like, okay, what does that look like for me for a year? What does that look like for me the next quarter? What does that look like for me for this month, for September? Like, where do I want to be at the end of the month? What do I want to have achieved? And then I look like, and what about the week? And then I even go into like, what about the day? And that's what I really learned from my coach. And then I got templates everywhere where I write stuff down. I put a lot in the computer, but for my daily stuff, for example, I like to write it down, because it's very important for our brain as well to be writing. So I write a lot every day, and I write it out. It's like, okay, what's the goal? What are the tasks for today that I would like to achieve? So yeah, that's how I started working on that.
So what happens if you have a day, like you've scheduled everything out beautifully, your intention for the day, but what happens if you don't reach those intentions? Do you push them out, or do you, like, what do you
reevaluate? Yeah, nothing happens. So, but it's a great question, because that's what happens, right? We believe like, we write out the actions that we have to do, and we must do them. I don't have that. Like I've built systems around that. I know like, okay, this needs to be done, and then that gets done. But in business, most of the time I don't get done what needs to be done. Like I try to overextend, because you just never know what happens. A coaching call might run longer, and that's my main focus. If my coaching calls are going well, then great. Then everything else is comes up next, right? And then I always highly recommend everybody, when it comes to life, just know what you plan. Like, it's important, right? Plan that time that you want to spend with your kids, and from when to when is that going to be, et cetera, et cetera. However, in your business, I would always suggest like plan more. Like, just plan over. You don't get it? Great. Either look if you can do it to the next day or the day after that, depending on you. Of course, maybe tomorrow you have a lot of coaching calls and it's going to be difficult, or strategy calls, or whatever it is that you focused on. But plan more, so you can see is like, what's actually the max that I can do, and what needs to get done, but I couldn't. So you really start thinking like, okay, but how can I make sure that that gets done? And then you start looking at like, okay, who can do that for me? Right. I had an interview with Blake Newbar last week, a couple of days ago.
Oh, nice. And I've interviewed him before. He's awesome. Love him to pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he made a lot of sense when he was saying, it's like, I lost my thread for a second. Yeah, I lost my thread. So the most important thing is when you look at like, what do I need to get done, then do that. But what he was looking at is like, okay, how can I get somebody else to do that? Right? It's not just all about, what do I do? It is looking at like, okay, how can somebody else do that, and then build your business, right? And that's really good. Now, I also interviewed Matt Ganzak, who was pretty much saying the same thing. He's like, you're not an entrepreneur unless you've got VAs solving problems. You're not growing unless you have more people working for you that are solving problems for you. So you really got to look at like, what's the problem here that I have in my own business, and who can I use? Instead of looking like, how can I solve it? Look at who can I use to solve this for me? Now, all of a sudden, you can write, instead of writing 4 actions, and now I remember what I want to say about Blake. So when you have 4 actions, now you can do 8, because you can send out like 6 of them to somebody else. So sorry, I miss with Blake. What he was saying is like, make sure you do your biggest tasks first. Right. And that's huge as well, because we're so busy. And he was mentioning like everybody's so busy with, responding to Facebook to people and comments and blah, blah, and contesting to or replying to emails and stuff like that. And that actually, it's not that important, but the real important stuff, right? That should be done first. So he's like, focus on that first. And he said, first, the 3 biggest tasks, focus on those. And of course, then he remembers like, wait a minute, I didn't start that way. He said, no. First, just do 1 every day. Do 1 big task that is going to move the needle. Yes. If you start doing that at the end of the month, you're going to be so much further. And that's the big thing. Like, you got to know for yourself. And that's what I write down every time, is like, what's the number 1 biggest task? That even if I get nothing else done today, but I just get that task done, I know that I've moved forward and I've been productive. And that's what I'm really focused on. And I think that's the big thing. It doesn't matter if you do 10 tasks or just 1, as long as that 1 is the task that actually makes your business move forward. So yeah, sorry, I messed it up for a little bit over there.
Oh no, that's perfectly fine. I'm all tongue-tied myself tonight, so don't worry about it. But yeah, no, 100% agree with you, because that's a mistake that I did in the past. Like, I would get to my computer and the first thing I will do is check emails. And then I realized, well, it doesn't actually help much. And now I would check emails from my phone when I'm doing something else, that I don't need to focus on actually the green dots, making the money in your business, because that's the needle. That's what you move forward, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So now, as a parent, which you are obviously a dad of a 5 and an 8-year-old. I'm a mom of a 4 and a 7-year-old. So our kids are very similar ages, but there's a lot of struggles that comes with being an entrepreneurial parent. Can you enlighten us, Klaas, with some struggles that you've had and how you overcome them, being an entrepreneurial parent in business?
The biggest struggle is that we want to provide, and we misinterpret what that actually means. So, and I don't have to blame anybody. I just always like to look at, how is government and school teaching us of how our life should look like. And that's the big issue, right? We should go to school for as long as possible, and then go into the work space and then work for as long as possible. And then not just like in years wise, but also in like what you do during the day, right? Yes. I mean, they say it's an 8-hour work day, but you're working on overtime. Everybody loves that when you do that. And then you travel, of course. So you're at least away 10 hours if you're working. And what my biggest challenge was in the beginning was like, that's what I brought back with me when I started becoming a full-time entrepreneur. So I was just working, thinking like, that's what I've been taught. I need to provide. I need to make, as Steve Larson calls it, I need to bring home the bacon. And it's at a certain point, I start realizing like, really? Like, I know I need to make money. Of course, we need to eat and stuff like that. But, how much money do I really need to make that will cost our kids to, not see me as much as they would like, right? Because it's what they would like. And they prefer all day, every day. And if that means, I don't know, 1 less slice of cheese instead of, 2 slices, they got 1 slice of cheese. And then they're going to say, look, 1 slice is fine. We get to spend an hour, 2 hours extra every single day with our dad. Let's do that. And that's when I started realizing like, wait a minute, that was the moment that clicked for me. It's like, wait a minute, I don't need to have a 7-figure business. I need to have a business that works, that's going well. And that indeed gives us the possibility. You got to pay your stuff, right? Yes. However, I started to notice like, wait a minute, I can do that with 2 hours of work a day. And the rest of the time I can spend on me, making sure that I'm fit, both mind and body, and that, the rest of the time is with them. Like I get to drop them off at school, I get to pick them up, and then we go to football practice. I actually just I think I start the day as an extra trainer over there. So now I'm doing that. So I'm love that. I'm not the dad that loves to sit around. Last night or yesterday evening, we went to the playground. Went with the oldest one. We played for like hour and a half football, and I was playing as well. So I like to do that. And then I don't sit around as well. Like that's also like, then you go out and then you're like, oh, great. Now my kids gets to play and I have my phone with me and I can answer those messages on Facebook. Right. And I understand that if that's what you need to do, then especially in the beginning, that's what you need to do. However, you got to know again, what's that clarity? Where am I trying to take this? Like I got 2 phones right now. One can only call. I can only make phone calls. That's it. I can't do anything else. And the other one has all the apps on it and it doesn't leave my office. Like it doesn't even go, like it's in the house. It doesn't leave my office. So if I want to check something on WhatsApp or Voxer or whatever it is, the way that I, connect with my clients, I can only check that if I go into my office, because that was another struggle, is like, that thing is with you and you're really driven and you don't want to miss any calls or anything. If I miss anything now, I call you back. Right. There's always tomorrow. And that's difficult. That takes a mindset that and again, it comes with that clarity. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's entrepreneurial parents that all they do is work and that's what they focused on. And, if it works for you, great. I just haven't seen it really work. Like their business goes great, except then, the connection with the kids and their marriage, not so much. So I really try to create that balance where every single area for me works, and it's definitely working.
That's really awesome. And I completely relate with this, and because I struggled myself with this and I literally burned out. I remember my husband was traveling. This is like my first year of my journey, probably like 3.5 years ago. And my husband was traveling and I was with the kids. And at that stage, I was doing 60, 70-hour work weeks. And I was just exhausted and I literally burned out and I could not get out of bed. I couldn't get up and he was not home. And I was like, I couldn't even take my boy to school. I was so completely exhausted. And I was like, what am I doing? I started this for them. Now I'm working against them. And it was just, it's that realization, exactly what you're saying, like get that clarity of why you're actually doing what you're doing and what's your purpose behind it, right? Tell me a little bit about your program, Klaas. How does that work and how exactly do you help people with your program?
Yeah. So there's 2 programs at the moment, pretty soon 3. So there's my one-on-one coaching program, which is Become the Me I Want to Be. I see it as simple. It's one-on-one coaching where I help my clients to move forward, move the needle every single week. And we really focus on making sure that they plan out everything. Yeah. Like they know exactly, like they got the clarity of where what does my ultimate vision look like, all into like, okay, and what do I got to do today to make that happen? That's that part. The cool part where I'm extra excited about at the moment is I'm working on a project called 100 Masters of Productivity, which is my fundraising project. And what we're doing is we're sending 50% of all the money that comes in straight to We Rescue Kids, which is an organization or nonprofit organization that helps sexually abused children to overcome their traumas. Yes. And I wanted to do something where, I give you value. So people that buy it, not they spend money that goes straight into a great cause, but at the same time, I'm giving you value. Like you could really get something in return. So what I'm doing there is I'm interviewing 100. So far, I've done 51. Massive productivity, and they share their productivity hacks of what they've learned or what they've used that really helped them to achieve success. So some of the people that I've interviewed, John Lee Dumas, Serena Brown Travis, who is Les Brown's daughter, Sandra D. Robbins, who used to be an actor, very, very well known. I think she played in CSI Miami for a while and other movies and stuff like that. Now she has an incredible company. So she hopped on. Jim Edwards has been on, Dave Woodward, many amazing guests so far, and it's only going to get better because the other 50% is going to be reinvested in the program to get more. Russell Brunson, for example, is going to be on my list. I'm making a new list, a smaller list of really focused, like these are the people that I want. Richard Branson, for example, is like my top one on the list that I want to have on as well. So I'm really focused on making sure like the value is there, and that way the idea is to make a 1 million by the end of 2022, and a meaning 1 million that goes to We Rescue Kids. So nice. I think that's very important. And at a certain point, you come to that conclusion and you come to that moment where it's like, yes, I can focus like a lot of my resources, whether money or time, on such a project. I think I'm already thinking about the second project, to be honest. So it's I haven't even finished this one, but I got the second project in my head because it's so much fun. Plus, as you mentioned before, the interviews are just so cool to do, because you get to, what people don't know, right? This is not just the time that we spend together. This is the time that you get to listen to us. However, there's a little bit of time before. With most, I gotta say, most, there's a little bit time before and there's a little bit time after. And that's the cool part. That's where you get to hang out with them and build on that relationship, and maybe ask an extra question like, hey, listen, productivity aside, how did you do this and this? And that's, it's very exciting. And again, not everybody's like that. Some like Johnny Loomis, he has one day, I think, and he just interview after interview after interview. You get 15 minutes. He comes on, he says, your time goes in now. And that's cool. I appreciate that. I'm still appreciative of his time. However, I'm also like, man, I would love like 5 more minutes with you. So I actually last time I cut the interview a little short, and I got like 2 minutes extra with him. So it was funny. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. That's how I help people. And I love being able to help people by using the relationships that I have built and gathering other people. Like, it's great. Yes. I'm convinced that what I have to share is very, very powerful and helpful, etc. There's so many other more great minds out there. I mean, I love to, like, 100 people are going to be in there at a certain point, like, boom, here you go. It's great because that's the way I work. It's like, you hear something from one coach. I also like to hear, like, okay, well, what does YouTube then say? Or what does that person say? Or what does that person say? Or now, okay, I'm doing this. Like, I always do this, and this, and I do it this way. And then I just love to hear, like, how does somebody else do that? I think that's very important, to keep an open mind in those kind of things. And that's what I teach my clients as well. It's like, I give you my opinion. However, think about what I'm telling you. Like, I really need you to think, like, is this working? Like, and that's very important, instead of just, blindly follow somebody and exactly do what they do. Because yes, they're successful, but they have a different journey than you have. We have to realize that, right? Plus, your end vision is also different. It should be. Right? We can't all, like Russell Brunson, I love what the guy is doing. He's absolutely phenomenal, and he has his great causes that he works for as well. However, one, his cause is not my cause. Two, his life is not my life, and also the direction that, what he's selling, etc. Everything is different. So always keep into account, like, what is it that I want, and keep asking yourself that.
How great is this interview so far? Klaas is just a vault of knowledge, and he shares so much amazing golden nuggets with us. But in saying that, because the episode is so lengthy, I decided to break it up into 2 parts. The next part, we're going to dive into goal setting, and if you're stuck in your entrepreneurial journey, what you can do to get out of that. And he's sharing some really amazing tips around that. So I can't wait for you to be part of the second part of this interview. And again, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button so you don't lose out on more videos like this in the future. I'll see you guys on the next video.